This is going to change your life. The food that you get access to at lower vibration grocery stores is going to impact your body compared to the food that you get at higher vibration grocery stores. The vibration of the stores attracts products that mirror and match the vibration of the store. I would never buy food from Walmart. I want to go to the most expensive grocery store that there is. What if all along, all the universe has been waiting for is for you to say, enough is enough. I will never step foot there ever again. I declare that I am worthy of being here. Do you think the money will show up?
Yes.
It has to. So you think that God is a man. Of course you do, because you live in separate frequency and you are operating from the perspective that everything is a man or a woman. When you think that God is coming to save you, of course you do, because the energy you vibrate at thinks that life is outside of you, and the answer is outside of you, waiting for the savior to come. When who's the savior? It's you.
Welcome to Built for Growth. Today's guest is Danny Morel, who is a life coach and a spiritual leader guiding millions throughout the world to awaken, heal, and transform their lives. He guides his audiences through profound internal transformations, resulting in healing lifelong limiting beliefs and removing protective inner barriers that block the abundance from entering their lives. And today we dove into what causes masculine and feminine energy imbalance and healing from the traumas that cause this. We touched on how these imbalances affect relationships, whether it being a parent or, in a relationship with a significant other. And one thing that jumped out at me in this episode was the idea that you may never need to take medications again once you discover how to heal from within. It boils down to love, fear, and forgiveness. Thanks for listening. Hey, Danny, welcome to the Built for Growth podcast. Super excited to have you here. I've been following you for quite some time, and
Beautiful.
I love what you put out. I am all about growth and all about healing.
Yeah. I'm glad to be here. It's nice to be back in Vegas.
Oh, good. Yeah, I hope the trip was in good. It's going to be a hot one today, so enjoy that.
Yeah.
Try not to sweat too much.
Yeah, I'm excited to be here because it's really interesting. Like, seeing you from afar as a fighter, you would think it's kind of like you get this picture, but then like I just mentioned, feeling you have a very beautiful, soft energy. So I commend you for that.
Thank you. I appreciate that. I've been working on it. Beautiful. I have been working on it. I don't think I was always so centered with myself. I definitely have had a lot of direction change in my life, and I've had to work hard on, letting go of things that weren't great for me, and trying to find your peace in all of this, right? Mm-hmm. So that's something that I've worked really hard, and I think it really inspired me when I became a mother. Because I always say that my floor is my children, or my ceiling, is my children's floor.
That's right. Yeah.
So I'm always trying to elevate myself so that I can learn and hopefully pass on, things like emotional regulation. That's not something I was raised with. Like we weren't, right? Like your parents didn't really understand what that meant, right? Back in our day.
That's right.
But we were discussing a little bit before we started this, that something that I really want to get into is masculine and feminine energy.
Okay.
I would love to dip into that because I think that the polarity of the two, they harmonize each other so beautifully. Mm-hmm. And it's not something that I've always experienced in my life. As I mentioned, there was a time when I feel like I really dipped into the masculine energy side. And it's a big reason why I began wrestling and why I became a fighter. And I think, lightly going over this, masculine energy was missing in my life at certain points in my life. And I think what I did, in hindsight, I look at this and say, I think I tried to become what I didn't have.
Sure.
I tried to find the security in myself if it wasn't going to be provided, in a masculine and secure energy world. So is that something that's common? Do women do this sometimes if they don't have?
Well, it's not only common, it's part of the soul's journey. When we incarnate, we pick the perfect parents that we need to experience in order to teach us everything that we need to learn to take us down the path to discovering who we really are. And ultimately, the deeper you go on that path, the deeper you go into the frequency of love. The more you disconnect from the pain and the potential anger of the mind, and you return to the heart. And in essence, if you want to look at like masculine and feminine energy, that's what it is. It's the mind and it's the heart, or the yin or the yang. All of us have it. It's our father and our mother. Essentially, the issue is that when our mother and father are not centered in their own heart, we as children are going to feel that. We're going to feel that something is missing, something's not right. Not a word has to be said. It could literally be the way that they look at you. That's how trauma can start. Because in the mind and the heart of a child, all they are is love and vulnerability. And so when they look up at their mom and dad, if they don't receive back that same love and vulnerability, which by the way, like no one does. So like, don't feel guilty if you're a mom and dad. It's all perfect. Then what starts to happen is we start to develop these wounds, these stories, and on the light side, it's, maybe life isn't safe, or maybe life is stressful. Or maybe life is a struggle, or maybe life is it's dangerous. And all of this gets developed based on those initial reactions with our mother and father. And from those initial reactions, we have to protect ourselves. So we go, I know what I'm going to do. I'm going to leave here and I'm going to go up here. And based off of whatever we didn't receive from our mother and father, it drives us to create the life that we create. Allah for you is, I'm going to fight. I'm going to learn to protect myself and defend myself because maybe I wasn't, I don't know your story, protected or defended. For me, it was, I'm going to be a real estate broker because my parents didn't have money, so I'm going to have money. Here's the issue. The issue is that most human beings live from the energy of desire. They live from pain, which is ultimately fear. And at some point in time, you take that life decision as far as it can go. Maybe you're the world's greatest fighter. Maybe you're the biggest real estate broker on the planet. And you're at the top of the mountain and guess what you realized? Holy shit, I'm not happy. Something's not right. And that's when the journey of healing begins. And that's when we essentially go from our out of balance or wounded masculine. We return to the heart if we allow ourselves, and then we rebalance both. And in truth, what you're trying to do is you're trying to get away from masculine, feminine, which is intuition, and you're trying to return to the center. And that's where you just are basically. Yeah.
Why is it that we naturally live from a place of desire?
If you study Hawkins' work, it's called the ladder of consciousness. And all of life, everything vibrates at a certain frequency. And on the lowest side of that frequency, it's the energies of guilt and shame, right? Just above that is, I think, fear. And then right above that is desire and pride, right? To give you an example, when a human being lives in guilt and shame, this is normally the result of some pretty deep stuff like sexual trauma, things of this nature, right? Or like in my case, my mom and dad were around. They just didn't know how to show me the love that I needed. My dad's dad wasn't present, so he didn't know how to be a dad. And my mom's mom died when she was only 13 days old. So on an energetic level, she didn't know how to give me the love my heart wanted. So what did I do? I thrust into the frequency of desire. Not necessarily guilt or shame, right? Because when you live in guilt and shame, this is when people struggle with depression and they literally can't do anything, right? Desire, you can be motivated. You could be inspired. This is where 100% of society's overachievers, right? A-type personality,
yes.
Right? Society sees them as successful. What they really are is deeply hurt. They're deeply hurt, and they use success, they use business, they use money, they use power because they're grabbing at the love that they never received as children.
There's a quote by Jim Carrey that says everybody should get rich and famous so that they can see that that's not what life is about.
That's exactly it. Because the only way that you can ever desire to get rich and famous, think about that, is because you weren't seen as a child. You weren't heard as a child. You didn't feel powerful as a child. So most folks who are rich and famous are actually deeply wounded, scared little children that have never been shown how to return to their heart. And so that's why he says that quote. He says that quote because essentially what he's saying is, I hope everyone can reach the pinnacle of lower frequency living. I hope everyone can reach the pinnacle of fear, essentially. And then you transcend, Misha, into the energy of courage, right? And courage is the bridge that takes you from fear to love. And then when you reach love, essentially what you do is you tap into the energies of forgiveness. You start to forgive your mother and father. You start to understand that everything was perfect. You start to understand that the only way that they were able to hurt you is essentially because they were hurt. And you start to realize that all of that energy is just being passed down until you become the one to heal it, not just for yourself, but for those that have come before you. And then here comes for your kids.
Yeah.
For your kids. Yeah.
Those that come after you.
Absolutely.
Yeah. You know, my parents had it was a strenuous relationship, you know, and I saw, you know, my biological father wasn't in the picture to start. And then I met him later in life, and my stepdad who raised me also had he had a very abusive father, a father that was, if he was there, you know, he was like 6'7". He was just a loud, scary, big temper, you know, and my dad was the only boy. So he got the physical wrath of the father. Right. So my dad never would like spank me or touch me. He was definitely like, you know, she's a girl, but he was scary and he would yell. And it was the same, you know, kind of big energy that just made you want to disappear.
That's right.
And so I began sort of, you know, this is a self reflection, I believe, a bit of disassociation at a young age, you know, learning how to kind of leave where I am. And then this became a skill set that I used all the time. Even when I wanted to be present, I didn't exactly know how to really be here now.
I get you.
Right?
Yeah.
And I've had to work really hard on changing that. And that's been a big benefit. And again, I was like fighting. That became my identity. That was going to provide me with what I was missing. And at the time, I didn't realize this. And I look back at it now and say, this is definitely, I think, what I was doing. And then I get to become a world champion. And that's the pinnacle. I mean, that's everything I was ever striving for. And that was going to fix it all. And it fixed nothing.
Because it's not supposed to.
Yeah.
It's actually your soul calls it in so that you understand that it's not in the fighting. It's not in the achieving. It's not in the doing. It's in the love.
Yeah.
Like ultimately, Misha, who you are and who I am is love. Like that's all that there actually is. You know, I was watching a clip of, gosh darn it, who's the guy that's in Marvel? Jeremy Grenier, or he was just on Joe Rogan.
Okay, I didn't see that.
I don't know who he is, but he's one of the Marvel superhero characters that I guess he died. And in the clip, he says, I didn't want to come back. And Joe and someone was like, well, why not? It's like, because he says, picture the purest bliss that you can imagine. He says, that's what it is. He says, there is no time. There is no you and me. There is no separation. It's just beautiful. It's just harmony. He was like, I can't even describe in human words what it felt like. And I'm going to let you know, like, I know that feeling because that's what you experience when you sit with the medicine. When you sit with ayahuasca, for example, you leave the physical world and you enter the spiritual world and you feel it, essentially. And it changes your life forever, Misha, because you realize that everything you have been doing in life was because you were trying to search for something that you never had, or to protect yourself from a pain that you experienced as a child. Because for you, it was fighting because you had like this big stepdad, like that maybe he didn't like hurt you, but it was scary.
Yeah.
Yeah? And you didn't want to feel that fear anymore.
Right.
So the mind goes, I'm going into fighting. Mm-hmm. And now let's take it a step further. Because for me, it was real estate. And I was in real estate and I was like, I don't think I want to do this shit anymore. Like, I don't know that I really love this. And that's when like you start to have an ego death, because you start to realize that everything in your life has been as a result of the pain that you felt when you were a little boy or a girl. And that's when shit gets real.
Yeah, you could say that again, an ego death. I like that.
Yeah.
I really like that term, because I think our ego can drive us in a direction that doesn't really serve us in a fulfilling way.
Because it's just trying to protect you.
Right.
That's all it's trying to do. So it's not a bad thing.
Yeah.
It's like, the way I like to describe it is fear and love are actually the same. If you think about like your parents, like those overly protective parents that are strict, that tell you, for example, you have to go to college and you have to become a doctor. You have to be, you know, a lot of immigrant parents are like this. Why are they like this? It's because it's all they know.
Right.
It's because they love you so much that they want the best for you.
Right.
But they don't know any other way other than, if you come to America, you got to go to school and you got to study. You got to. What if you want to become a podcaster? What if you want to become a YouTuber? What if you want to become a fighter? What if you want to become a comedian or an actor or God knows what, right? So if you think about it, from the frequency of fear, they are operating in control.
Right.
They're trying to control the child to make sure that the child has this life. They actually love the child. They just don't know that love means to allow the child to discover their own path. Does this make sense?
Absolutely.
So fear and love are actually the same. It's just polar opposites. And what an ego death, Misha, is it literally, the parts of fear of you dying. Boom, 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 boom. So you can return to the vibration of love. I've had like 700 of them. Scariest shit you can imagine. Can I tell you about one of them?
Please.
So think about this. Did you want to be famous when you were a little girl?
No.
No? I did. I wanted to be famous, right? And like my whole life I wanted to be famous, and I'm going to be famous someday, and I'm going to be on stages, and I'm going to be doing all this stuff, right? Well, one day I had just finished going through a ceremony with plant medicine. And I started to go into some of the wounds that I experienced as a kid. And I started to realize, like, oh my God, like my whole life has been about the outside. Yeah, it's been about how I want to be seen. It's about how I need to be accepted. It's about, because I've been searching. Shit, Misha, even like with relationships, like I have to find the one.
Right.
Right. And what I realized in that ceremony is that everything was that way because I didn't feel seen as a child. Make sense?
Yes.
So then I'm having this moment, right? And it's like, it's a massive, massive release of energy where I'm like, I don't think I need to be famous anymore. Pause. When your whole life you've wanted something and all of a sudden you don't, guess what the next question is?
Now what?
Well, what do I want?
Yeah.
Well, who am I? And I it's like, I don't know how to explain it. It's like a anxiety attack plus death plus everything hitting you all at once, so much so that you start to hyperventilate and you're like, what is it? Am I here? Am I alive? And then you just like, boom. And then typically what happens is the body will start shaking because you're releasing that energy. And it's like you're born again. You become a new version of yourself.
When did you have your first experience with plant medicine?
My first experience was with ayahuasca. My mother died. And when our parents die, I now know this, when our parents die, think about this, they're now on the other side.
Yeah.
So everything that your mother and father wish they could have been for you here on earth, they now get to be on the other side. They now get to love you the way that their human experience didn't allow them to love you because they weren't loved in that way. So what starts to happen is they're on the other side and they're literally like pushing and guiding and touching and helping you to remember who you are. That's why a lot of people have a spiritual awakening after their parents' death, because typically your parents' death is a portal into your awakening. So that's what happened to me. I'm this big real estate broker. I've got the suit. I got the Mercedes. I got the house. I got the wife. I got the, I got everything.
The kids.
The custom suit, the everything, And these questions start appearing to me. Questions that I was like afraid to answer. Questions like, are you happy? Are you in love? Do you love what you do? And this is scary stuff. It's scary stuff because it's poking at the parts of you that you maybe have been deflecting your whole life by staying busy. You understand what I'm telling you? And it's asking you like, what's up? What's really going on underneath there? And I was afraid to answer it because I knew the answer. I was just afraid. So enough of this started happening where I started to realize, oh my God, I'm not in love. I've been married for 13 years. And I'm like, and I knew I wasn't in love from the first day of the wedding. And why did I do that? Because I needed to find a wife. And why did I need to find a wife? Because I didn't feel love within myself. So I thought that having a wife and kids was going to make me find. This is real talk now.
I think it's very relatable.
This is real talk. And I am like going through all of this. And I actually had an affair. I was Mr. Goody Two-Shoes. Because remember, I have to be so that the outside world could like me, could love me. So I was the perfect Goody Two-Shoes, like, squeaky clean. And I did the thing that I never thought I would do. And it all brought me to my knees. All of it. I started questioning God. I was a Christian. I was the guy baptizing everybody in the water. Like I was that guy. And I started questioning everything. And during that time, I remember being alone in my apartment and I remember reaching. I reached for a woman to have sex with because I thought that would make, and instead of reaching, I said, no, don't do that. Don't be a bitch. Don't use her body to help you deal with your shit. And then I reached for alcohol. No, we're not going to do that. And we're going to sit here and we're going to deal with it. And it's like, I just started to like cry and scream and yell. And next thing you know, I see a friend of mine and he had the biggest smile on his face. And I know this guy. This guy was like a jerk like me, right? So I'm looking at this dude's smile and I'm like, that's not your smile. Like, what's up with that? Next thing you know, he's like, hey, man, yeah, I did ayahuasca. And I just said, sign me up. And I went to Costa Rica for 7 days. I sat with ayahuasca 3 times. I took a month off. I went back for a month, took a month off, went back for a month, took a month off, went back for a month. And every time I dealt with every single fear I had in my life, I went all in and it changed my life.
That's got to take an incredible amount of courage to do that.
Yeah. You have to be willing to face everything, even death. Yeah. Even death. Yeah.
You mentioned something earlier about, being a child and not necessarily being seen. And I think there are a lot of great parents out there who mean well, who kind of just assume that parenting will just, you just do it the way that you were parented. And they come from a place of love, like you said, they mean their best, but
sure.
Is there something that we could give to the parents listening out there or people in relationships or whatnot that could maybe start to help them set a new trend for the children that they're with or their partners that they're with? I think this could probably apply in either way, but I know for me being a parent, it has inspired me to change a lot of the things. And at first it wasn't that way. I would say the first 2 years of my daughter's life was kind of like, I believed in spanking. I believed in, I just didn't question. It wasn't even a belief. I just didn't question it. I was spanked.
You just did what we
do.
Right.
So, and it's, of course I'm not beating my child, she's wearing diapers, but it's like, pat on the butt. And it hurts them emotionally, which hurts you emotionally. And then we don't sit and think about what is wrong with the whole picture of all of this. It's just kind of like, well, that, it's what happened.
What we do.
It's just what happened, and then I've done a lot of, I've read books and I've researched, and because it hurt my heart so bad, I'm like, I don't think I can I can't parent like this anymore. There's got to be a better way.
Yeah.
But how do we see our children? How do we see our partners?
Yeah.
How do we see ourselves?
Well, you asked a lot, so let me try to break
Yes.
it all down. First thing, Misha, we cannot see our partners or our children until we fully learn to see ourselves. We cannot accept our partners and our children until we fully learn to accept ourselves. And we cannot fully allow ourselves to let our children be on their journey of life without controlling, without hurting, without trying to overstep, until we first look at our journey of life and realizing that it was all perfect. The basic thing that happens is that we look at our journey of life and we judge it.
Yeah.
We judge it as right or wrong, right? I'm going to take myself for example. I was born to a father who didn't have a father. But I was also born to a father who at 6 years old was shipped off to New York by himself without a mother, and he definitely didn't know his father. Just think about that for a second. Think about going from the Dominican Republic to New York at 6 years old. Think about how scared he must have been.
And it was by himself?
By himself.
Oh my gosh, my daughter's 6. I can't.
You can't even
this.
picture that, right?
Can't.
Well, my dad speaks with a stutter. Now you understand why. He didn't have masculine energy in his life. He was all alone, right? And as a result, he was very absent as a father. And so I judged that. I was angry at that. I was mad at that. And this is what the pain within us does. The pain within us wants to hold on to everything that happened and made it right or wrong. Let's go to my mom. My mom was born and her mother died 13 days after her birth. And so my mom, as a little girl, never received the maternal energy of love. She wasn't breastfed. Think about this for you mothers out there. It is so important that you breastfeed, that you connect with your child. And if you didn't, it's okay. It was all a perfect part of it. Right. It's all perfect.
I feel like
right?
when you say that, I want to highlight what I receive when you say perfect.
Sure. I saw it hit you.
It does. Every time you say it, it's because each hardship is an opportunity for growth. That's how I look at it. So everything that happens is an opportunity for you to elevate that much higher.
Well,
right?
Let's take it a step further. When I finally understood and I started looking at all of life as perfect, and I stopped judging it.
Right.
I stopped judging myself. When I accepted my father, I accepted myself. When I accepted my mother, I accepted myself. When I reconnected and forgave with my father, I reconnected and forgave my masculine energy. And when I reconnected to and forgave my mother, I reconnected to my feminine and my heart. And this is what we're missing as human beings. We are all living discombobulated lives because we're looking outside of ourselves for the answer, for a partner, for a career, for success, for money, for fame. And the answer is in here. Because when you return in here, Misha, you will have it all. And not from the wrong energy, not from being out of balance. It'll all just be a perfect reflection of what's going on in here. So I looked at my mom and my dad and I thought, you know what? Hang on a second. And so this is the homework assignment for all parents. If my dad didn't know how to be a father to me, I would have never started real estate. I would have never learned. If my mother didn't know how to love me, I would have never looked for love in a relationship. I would have never learned that real love and happiness isn't in a relationship and it isn't in success. oh my God, I would have never literally returned to my heart. I would have never became the man that I am. I wouldn't be doing the work that I'm doing. Oh my God. Then it was all perfect. That's the moment life changes for all of humanity. For all of humanity. Any negative energy you hold towards your mother is a negative energy you are holding towards your heart, and it's a negative energy that you are holding towards the vibration of receiving all that life has to offer you. Any negative energy that you're holding towards your father, you are holding towards yourself and your ability to go out and decide and create what you want your life to be like.
That's a beautiful breakdown.
Yeah. And so when it comes to that, well, guess what happens? You naturally just return to love. And what does love do? Does love control or does love allow?
Allow.
It allows, right?
Yeah.
Right? Control is wounded masculine. Allow is healthy feminine. And so when you have your children, what do? You allow them. You allow them to experience life because you realize since everything was perfect for you, guess what? It's perfect for them. And when you make a mistake, guess what you do? You talk to them. I'm sorry that day that mommy hit you. She got frustrated.
Yep.
It wasn't my intention and I'll never do it again. It's like when I had my kids circumcised. Everything inside of me said, don't do this. Don't do this. Don't do it. But my ex-wife at the time, she wanted to do it. And guess what? I was a bitch. I was afraid. I wasn't in my masculine. I wasn't in my leadership. And I had to sit there and watch a doctor do that to my boys when no one did it to me. It felt horrible. But even that, I carried so much guilt and shame around. I had to let it go. The lesson is, if you're a parent out there, if you could start from scratch right now, day one, I would say, understand that your journey's been perfect. Your kid's journey is perfect. Understand that every lesson that you had to learn, they're going to have to learn. And all you're there is to guide with love. That's it.
Amazing thing to think about, because there's no moment in life that is too late to have this realization.
No.
Yeah.
And you're...
It could be on your deathbed, right? I mean...
I'd like to share a story about that.
Yeah.
Because the work I do now is I help people to heal from all of this stuff. Like, never in my life did I think I'd be doing this. You know what I'm saying? Well, a lot of what we help people heal from is trauma.
Yeah.
And so I'll give you one example. With women, it's sexual trauma. When I do an event, I'll ask a question. You know, my event Awaken it's a 3-day event, and I'll ask this question. By the third day, we all feel connected, they feel safe, they know I've got them, right? Mm-hmm. So I'll ask for a vulnerable moment, and I'll ask the women, like, how many of you have ever been sexually assaulted in any capacity? Misha, 80% of the room. 80%. Every single event, every single time, there's 800, there's 1,000 people in the room. 80% of the women have experienced some sort of sexual trauma. Well, what happens? Number one, on an energetic level, your root chakra, your energetic chakras, they lock up. They're not free. As a result, on an energetic level, you are locked up. You are not free. Yeah? You don't feel safe. You can't be vulnerable, right? This is why so many people out there are having sex, and it's just like, it's an action.
Right.
That's all it is, because we're disconnected from our hearts, from our feelings, from the vibration of creating, from the energy of love. Yeah?
Right.
Because this act has forced us in there, and we're afraid. And so I had this client of mine that I work with that, you know, we knew when she signed up, we knew, okay, this is going to be the goal is to release this energy from your life. Well, I never knew this, but you're wearing short sleeves right now. She always used to wear long sleeves. I didn't know why. About like 3 months ago, she goes, Danny, you'll never guess what happened. I go, why? She goes, I just realized I'm wearing short sleeves. And I'm like, okay, so what's up with that? She goes, I have had eczema in my arms my entire life. And I'm like, and I already know what that is. It's the body's way of showing you there's an undealt with energy within. And she goes, and I finally forgave my uncle that abused me. Talking about deathbed. 2 months later, Danny, you're never going to believe what happened. I already know because I know how powerful you are. We all are, right? Once we start healing. She says, my uncle is literally on his deathbed right now. And I go, yeah, and it's just so beautiful. She sends me a picture of her holding his hand and saying, I forgave him, but not from my mind, from like my heart and soul. Like there is zero resistance. And all I now feel for this man is love. Because I knew that the only way he did that to me is if someone did that to him.
Right.
And she says, Danny, and when I looked at him and he looked at me, not being able to understand how I could forgive him, but it's like I saw the little boy in him.
So powerful.
Like the hurt little boy in him. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And that's what we all get to understand is that like all of this is pain. It's just pain that we haven't allowed ourselves to process, heal, or deal with. And that's where I go back to courage. Remember?
Yes.
Until we do, Misha, until we hold on, until we resist, we unknowingly are living in lower vibration. So you could be successful, you could be a millionaire, you could be the boss babe, you could be the fighter, you could be the head of the business, you could be the go-getter. I am telling you right now, you are running from something. And this is what most of us don't realize is that society is telling us, go be that, go be it. And watch what happens when you get there. Watch how out of balance you are. Watch how disconnected you are. Watch how you don't know how to feel or receive love. And that's when awakening happens.
Do you think that someone can experience this kind of awakening without plant medicine?
Every soul is different. I would say yes, because when your soul is on a journey of awakening, you're going to call in the right people, the right circumstances, the right something's got to start maybe asking you these questions, start making you feel, right? And then listen, I will say this, we all need help. You know, like we all need guys. This is what you know the movie X-Men?
Yeah.
You know how they're all like superheroes?
Yeah.
That's us. We all have a unique spiritual gift. We all have a unique ability, right? And so when you start to heal and when you start the awakening, all you have to do is say, okay, like God, send me whatever I need, whoever I need to help me take this to the next step. And then your path will reveal itself. Maybe for you, it's meditation. No plant medicine required. You know, maybe for you, it's coming to Awaken, our event. I made it so that it's like plant medicine without needing to take the plant medicine. It's that powerful. Maybe it's through yoga. My wife struggled with anxiety her whole life, like debilitating. She couldn't go into a restaurant. Yoga helped her. Or maybe it's plant medicine.
Right.
Yeah, everybody's different.
I used to have eczema as well. I would get it on my hands and my wrists. And it was at its worst when I was in a very toxic relationship that just kept me in a state of,
fight or flight.
Fight or flight.
That's
all
right.
the time.
Yeah.
And now I haven't had eczema in a decade.
Yeah.
It's just, it's incredible. And I don't take any medication for it. But this is, I believe that our bodies have many ways of communicating unmet needs. And oftentimes it's expressed through the skin or through the gut or through other problems that we typically go to a doctor and say, what's wrong with me? And they say, well, this is your symptom. Here's a medication so we can, stop the communication of the body.
That's
and I
right.
say, but there's a deeper, I believe, that there's usually a deeper cause that needs to be addressed.
Well, I'd like to speak to that. We can eliminate belief. It's a knowing. It's a fact, and I want to be sensitive to this, and I want you to take caution, and I want to do a disclaimer and say, go talk to your doctor, whatever. But think of a pill. A pill is external to you, right?
Right.
When we need a pill, when we need prescription medication, what the energy of that is saying is, I need something outside of me in order to fulfill me.
Yeah.
That's the same thing as cocaine. It's the same thing as pornography. It's the same thing as sexual addiction. It's the same thing as steroid use. It is the same thing as everything. It is an external sign that there is something going on internally. No human being needs a pill. And I'll prove it to you. I had another friend, another client, somebody that I work with. The guy started working with us because he had some form of autoimmune disease. I don't know the name, Aunt Jemima, some weird name, right? And it was so bad, Misha, that about every 90 days or so, or every 3 to 4 months, his eyes would flare up, his face would flare up, and his esophagus would flare up. And if he didn't get to the hospital within like an hour, it would flare up so much that he couldn't breathe. So he would inject himself. And he would inject himself so much that all these veins were gone. So they had to put a stent in his chest. So he had like a stent.
Right.
So he could just get himself to the hospital. And then he'd be stuck in the hospital for like 2 weeks with a thing down his throat, right? So he comes to me. I took him through a medicine journey. It's I never thought I'd be ready to say this publicly, but it's part of what we do. Like it's part of our work, because I know it's like, for those ready, it's that next level of healing, you know? So I took him through a medicine journey, and, back then I used to do him at my house, and he shows up. I picked him up from the airport because I could tell he needed love, And he pulls out his medication. I go, "What's that?" It was an honest question. I was just like, "What's that?" He goes, "Oh, these are my pills." And out of my mouth came the words, "You're not going to need that after this weekend." This was 4 years ago. I didn't even know what I was doing. I didn't even know. Now I know what I'm doing,
Yeah.
And it was like a bag. It was a Ziploc bag with like 10 pills. And he looks at me and is like, "Okay." Sure enough, in the journey, we discovered that the source of the autoimmune disease was his relationship with his father. His father used to beat the living daylights out of him as a kid. I mean, living daylights, to the point that, some of these kids, when they experience that kind of trauma, they disassociate with pain.
Right.
He said, I just didn't even feel pain anymore. Right? Okay, now watch.
Yeah.
Just think about this, right? Think about this. Remember what I said earlier? I said we are all love. Right?
Yep.
So think about this. Think about a little boy that is in this world, who is all love and has that much pain as a father. What is he being taught about life?
That is painful.
Life equals pain.
Yeah.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
The exact opposite of what he should be being taught. And this is why I say never hit your children. And again, if you did, like I once did, it's right? It's unnecessary.
Agreed.
And all we're doing is transferring pain, and we are showing them you are not safe. You are not safe from the one person that you think you should be safe from. What the hell is going to happen when you go out there?
Right. Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So we took him through this process. Next thing you know, not only is he off all medication, the stink comes out of his chest. This thing, when it flares up, he's able to meditate and go in and manage it. And his life has changed forever. Fast forward, Again, this is the beauty of the story. Fast forward 2 years later, his father gets cancer. He's now healed. He forgives. And now he's able to actually parent his father and help his father heal while he is getting his cancer treatment. It's just beautiful. That's the power of healing.
That's the power of coming full circle in all of this.
That's it. That's it.
What about the people who don't necessarily get this realization? What do you think about, people that are not moving through their trauma, are not finding the perfectness, I suppose?
Yeah,
yeah.
That's a beautiful question. It's actually what drove me. My mom died. She died of lung cancer. My aunt died. She died of breast cancer. My friend died. He died of prostate cancer. And in all of the circumstances, doctors weren't able to tell them why. And the more and more I started to understand energy, the more I looked at each of these cases and I thought, oh my God, my friend secretly admitted to me that he was sexually molested when he was a little boy. There's the prostate. I know my aunt had issues with her feminine energy. I know she was married to this guy that really wasn't good for her. The breast is the feminine. My mother was grieving the loss of her mother. Grief is carried in the lung. There it is. Do you understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And this is why I'm telling you, everything can be healed. Everything can be healed. Everything that happens within the body, it's just trying to show you something you're not taking care of in there. There's something you're not taking care of in there, right? And now I started to realize that nobody that I knew or none of my family had this awakening. And it's actually what drove me to do the work that I do now. And here comes the kicker. Ram Dass says something. Ram Dass says, if you really want to help someone else, right? Because there's a part of every single one of us that understands that we want to contribute to the lives of others.
Who's Ram Dass?
Ram Dass is just a spiritual guy. He passed away.
Okay.
He used to say this quote, Misha, and it's it's the key to everything. He said, the best thing that you can do for them is to work on yourself. And the best thing that they can do for you is to work on themselves. Because what happens, Misha, is when we work on ourselves, right? Our light starts to shine in a way that liberates the light in the 7 closest people around us. Literally, you will see your relationship with your mother, your relationship with your father, your relationship with your children. All of it will start healing when you start healing. And then guess what happens to them? They start to do the same thing. And this is how we heal the world. We heal the world by healing ourselves.
Oh, that's beautiful. I feel like this is an experience that I have personally experienced as well. So I haven't done ayahuasca, but I have done mushrooms.
Yeah.
I did psilocybin. And that for me was just one deep experience. I've done, quite a bit of microdosing here and there, but this one deep experience forever changed my life.
Yeah.
And it showed me that we are all connected in a way that I would almost describe my perception is that we are the same.
We are.
Yeah, that we're not, that I am you
She's
and you
getting
are
it.
me.
That's
right.
right.
I mean,
That's
it's
right.
not even layers of separation. It's we actually all feed on the same energy network.
That's right.
And we're all intertwined. And so the level of empathy went up through the roof. So it's when I forgive myself, I forgive you. And I forgive the person down the street that I don't know. And the person who's angry, that's driving, who cut me off, who's in a hurry. It's I have forgiveness for everybody because I have the forgiveness and the love in my heart.
Preach.
Right?
Preach it, sister. That's it. That's the whole thing right there. I'm going to take it a step further. And this is where most of us, this is where the matrix falls apart. Because we've been conditioned through religion to think that God is outside of us.
Okay, I know where you're going with this. So this is another epiphany that I've had as well.
Think about this. What you just realized in that statement was that we are not separate. Okay, Well, if we are not separate, then how can we be separate from God?
Right.
Right? And this is where like everything starts to changes, and this is the biggest ego death of all, when you realize that all of religion was actually created to keep you separate from your very own divinity, from the God within you. So you think that God is a man. Of course you do, because you live in separate frequency and you are operating from the perspective that everything is a man or a woman. And so you put God in a box. When you think that God is coming to save you, of course you do, because the energy you vibrate at thinks that life is outside of you, and the answer is outside of you. Do you understand what I'm saying?
Yes.
And
Very
so as a
much so.
result, you're in a constant state of waiting for the Savior to come. When who's the Savior?
Yeah. Yourself.
It's you.
That's true. The only person that can save you is you, really. I mean, spiritually and whatnot, you have to do the work. I mean, you can't save me.
I can't do
my husband,
anything.
my children, if I don't want to open myself to this, to receive,
That's
and
right.
to change and to grow and
That's
to heal.
right.
Yeah.
And that's why when we're in ceremony or when we're at Awaken, for example, like, just picture 800 people doing breath work. 800 people, like their ancestors coming to them and speaking to them and healing them. I mean, we've had like, I'm just going to say it. Like, I always used to like read the Bible and go like, but how come those miracles don't happen today? I just used to question that innocently.
Yeah.
And then I'd be like, no, but that's evil. Don't do that. No. But then, once I started this work, I was like, no, how come they don't happen today? I'll tell you why they don't happen today. They can't happen. They can happen because you think that you're separate from God. And once you realize that the divine is within you and you tap into your own spiritual gifting, you'll start to come to Awaken. You'll see more miracles in 3 days. You'll see more people healing than you've ever seen in your entire life. Why? Because people leave this, they leave separation, and they go inward. And when you go inward, you connect to your ancestors, to your spirit guides, to the divine, and they heal you in ways that you cannot even comprehend as a human being.
It's so powerful.
Yeah.
It's just incredible to think about. Have you ever heard of the mass meditations bringing crime rates down in the areas temporarily?
Of course it will.
Temporarily. I think that's fascinating. And if you think about it, like magnets and polarity and different energies, for people that maybe are having a hard time wrapping their head around, what do you mean this energy, and how could, people meditating here and somebody that doesn't even know about it, the crime rates goes down, it doesn't seem like it's related, right? But I think about this as like an energy field and how we don't see magnetic charges, but magnets, they feel it, and we can sort of demonstrate it at least. But there's also this energy and a charge that humans have and that we have, and we can put it out, and for whatever reason, it can permeate beyond just our immediate selves. And I think this, again, goes to that light philosophy, that the light kind of extends further and shines brighter to others. And it's not something tangible. It's not something you can hold or touch, but it's real, and you feel it.
Well, only the mind that needs it to be tangible. Only the mind that needs it to be. You understand?
Yeah.
You get it?
Yeah.
Like when you're here, you just know everything is that. This is energy. This is energy. This is energy. This is. I'll prove it to you. We're in Vegas right now. Last night, I'm at the Wynn. I don't know. Name me a shit hotel.
Maybe the Flamingo.
Okay, so how do you feel when you go in the Flamingo?
That's kind of grungy.
Kind of great. You feel that energy, right? How do you feel when you go at the Wynn? It's
clean
better.
and
It's
yeah.
clean. It's not, right? Grocery store. Name me a shit grocery store.
Grocery outlet.
Grocery outlet. How do you feel, or would you ever even go to a grocery outlet?
I do go to grocery outlet, but I feel like it's kind of like a bit, it's just like older stuff. Or
Right.
Okay, Walmart's probably one of my worst ones. Like, I don't like to go to Walmart.
No, of course not, because you feel the energy.
Yeah.
You feel the consumerism. You
Yeah.
feel all of that denseness, right?
Yeah.
You feel the matrix. Walmart is the matrix. Yeah?
Yeah.
It's different than when you go to like a farmer's market,
Yeah.
or like Whole Foods or even Trader Joe's. It's a different vibration. And now this is the kicker. The food that you get access to, the water that you get access to at lower vibration grocery stores is going to impact your body compared to the food that you get at higher vibration grocery stores. Why? Because the vibration of the stores attracts products that mirror and match the vibration of the store. And then the human being that matches that vibration goes to the store that matches the frequency of the vibration.
Right.
It's all energy.
Right. You're so right. Yeah.
So like, I don't say this, and then when you're in victim energy, you go, oh, it's because you think you're better. No, it's because I love myself. I would never buy food from Walmart. I would never. Right? I want to go to the most. This is going to change your life. I want to go to the most expensive grocery store that there is. Why? Because I love myself. I love myself so much that I want the best for myself. Pause. The victim will go, well, it must be nice. Hang on. What if? What if all along, all the universe has been waiting for is for you to say, enough is enough. I will never step foot there ever again. From this day forward, I declare that I am worthy of being here. Do you think the money will show up?
Yes.
It has to. It has to. It has to, because money is energy. You are energy. Therefore, money is you. It's not separate from you.
Right.
So the minute you say, I'm done with the minute you say, I'm done with shit groceries, is the minute you are showing the universe that you love yourself so much that you're willing to give yourself in the most deepest relationship, the relationship with food and your body, the best for your body, the best nourishment, then the money has to show up. Now, it doesn't show up like a genie, and you might have to go through a little bit of uncomfortableness, but guess what? Most of us are fat, right?
Right.
So you could go a couple of weeks without eating so much. Eat less, but eat better.
Right.
And then you go, okay, what would I have to do, and who would I have to become, and what stories would I have to address in order for me to be able to like afford this stuff?
Right.
And it's like shh, everything lines up.
Not only that, but I'll tell you this. This is personal experience as well. When I eat a single food type diet, whole foods diet, right?
That's right.
One ingredient foods. It is so fulfilling that I almost struggle to get enough calories when I'm working out hard.
Yeah.
It's actually becomes challenging because the food is so fulfilling and so nutrient dense that I'm getting everything that I need, that it almost can get challenging to get what I'm required to have every day.
That's right.
And this is just for conceptual purposes. When you remove the processed foods out of your diet that are void of the nutrients and the connection, and they've been, processed to a degree where our body doesn't even necessarily recognize all of the parts of it as truly food. Mm-hmm. So your body continues to crave more, which gets more expensive, and you feel worse. And here we go, because you think, oh, I'm saving money because I'm buying Cheetos and it's only $1 a bag, it's on sale. Or I could buy these sweet potatoes, and it's $5. But think of the weight of a bag of sweet potatoes. You know how much potatoes and if you just think about it for a minute, the nutritional value that you're getting out, the beta carotene, all of these foods, and then you put nice butter on it, and it's like, oh my God, it's like the most delicious, truly satiating from even a spiritual standpoint. Then this bag of chips that you eat, and it's like, it tastes good on the tongue, but it's that low vibration gratification.
So
something that's not going to nourish you on a deep level.
That's right. So what if the Cheeto is a reflection of the unknown energy that you have inside of you? You see, it's like we've been taught to think of the outcome. Oh, they eat Cheetos. No. I'm telling you, they eat Cheetos because of the energy within them.
Yeah.
The Cheetos is a reflection. You get that?
Absolutely.
Yeah. And by the way, all of us have gone through this with food. Guess what? Food, the partners you attract, It's the same thing. It's the same exact thing.
Let's talk about masculine energy and feminine energy and dive into that balance a bit more, because we started the podcast with this and we've gone so many wonderful directions. But I want to talk into, to the fact that I definitely went into my masculine and, and why do women do this? And then what happens when we find healthy masculine energy in a man that can provide that for us? And then how does that help us and where do we go with that?
Women go into their masculine energy because they were let down by the one masculine that should have protected them, their father. If a woman has a protective, safe, and nurturing father, she has no need to go into her masculine because she felt safe. The only reason that she starts living from her masculine, which is actually, in that case, wounded masculine energy, is because she now has energetically declared, since I wasn't protected, I am now my protector. Yeah?
Right.
Now, herein lies the problem with that. The problem is that what is happening right now in society is there's a lack of balance. It's all out of balance. And everyone, men and women, are up here. Yeah? Trying to basically survive, quite frankly. Yeah. And when a woman, your second question, attracts a man that does have safe, balanced, masculine energy, which I will tell you right now is rare. The only way that she can attract it is if her soul is ready to return to her feminine.
Wow.
If she's in resistance, if she's still fighting, if she still wants to be the man, then guess what? That energy will attract that resistance. Or what it does is it attracts the opposite. It attracts, I hate to use this word, like a beta male.
Yeah.
Because that's what makes her feel safe. It's all about safety for the feminine. That's what the feminine wants.
And I don't really feel like this is truly attractive to women. I think, again, you go back to safety. But I think that a lot of relationships can fail over time when the energies don't find their true place. And there can be just a lack of deep attraction.
Yeah.
It's surface attraction. It was safe. It was what worked at the time.
Yeah.
But I don't know if it evolves into like lasting love and depth.
It can't. It can't, because love is the heart. So the way I like to describe it is we're all walking around attracting a mind mate. We're attracting from the wounds of the mind. It's the same thing with a guy that wants a trophy wife, by the way. It's the same exact thing. The only way that a man wants a trophy wife is if he thinks he needs to walk around with a trophy. And why would he think he needs to walk around with a trophy? Because he doesn't feel enough inside of him. So the trophy allows him to get the attention that he never received as a little boy, which in his ego equates to love and acceptance. But in actuality, it is something external. And when that man wakes up and starts a spiritual journey, he'll realize that he didn't attract his partner based off of her inside, based off of her real value, which is her love, her tenderness, her care. He attracted her solely based off of the exterior, and that's where he's going to have an issue and she's going to have an issue. Because the only way that she, the trophy wife, was able to attract the man that wanted a trophy wife is if she lived from trophy wife energy.
Yes.
And that's where things start to really awaken. And it's an issue that all of society is happening right now. Because everywhere in the dating world, you see on Instagram, men are like, if he's not 6'4", and then if he doesn't make money, and if he doesn't do this, then you doesn't. And the men are like, if she doesn't have tits and she don't have an ass, if she's go ahead, watch what happens. Watch what happens. Love cannot exist there.
No.
It's all on the exterior.
And I always wonder how these people have such diabolical separations, because I think, didn't you love each other at one point? Like, how can you be so cruel and vicious and, fight over the children and fight just for control, just for, and how does that happen? But
it's because they never loved each other.
right.
They came together to fulfill an unknown energetic need. And when that need is over, the real them comes out. The pain in them
And they
comes out
blame each
and
other.
starts to blame each other. It's your fault. It's your fault. Instead of realizing, wait a minute. We called each other in based off of our wounds. And our time together is now done. And that is okay. That is okay. This is one of the issues with religion, by the way, and society, is that we have so much external pressure around relationships, right? If you get divorced in religion, you're a sinner. If you get divorced in society, you're a divorcee, right?
Yeah.
So all of it is external. Yeah? The construct of marriage even is an external societal energy that is placed on couples. We used to walk around, number one, in communities. Number two, we all used to have sex with each other. Number three, we all used to raise children together.
Yeah.
Everything was love. Everything was flow. Yeah?
I've heard of these communities that kind of do the same, and all the children are everybody's children. It's sort of, in a way,
It's the way it was.
it's interesting.
Yeah, it's the way it was. Yeah. I haven't gone down that rabbit hole deep enough myself,
Yeah.
but I could see it, and I could see it as a man with a purpose.
Right.
It's like I would not only as a man with a purpose, but as a divorced man. When my ex-wife moved to Austin, I moved to Austin, and when she bought a house, I bought a house 5 minutes away, and then she moved, and now we're 20 minutes away. But still, it's like I could see it as a man who is not in their lives every single day. But I also have a purpose. So I'm here and I'm traveling and I have my events and stuff. And I could see it. I could see how a community would be able to give more to children because they're learning from so many different angles.
Why did you follow her to Austin? Why did you?
For my kids.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, for my kids.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
That's the other part where it gets really tricky is sometimes I feel like it's like the question is, well, maybe I'm not happy, I'm not in love, but do I sacrifice the time with my children, or is it, because I think about that and I'm very happy, but I've thought about, what are things that could make me sacrifice time with my children, and the list is very, very short. There's, periods of time that I'm willing to sacrifice some time with my children, like when I'm preparing for a fight.
Sure.
And then we make it up on the back end.
Sure.
We find the balance in it. But I've thought about that because you always picture, no matter how good a relationship is, right? Like, what would it be like if God forbid, he passed away tomorrow, or like if he just left me, or if I just left, or what would that look like? And I'm like, that wouldn't be worth it. I wouldn't ever want to sacrifice the time with my children.
No, but even that, Misha, is fear speaking.
Yeah.
You are the creator of your life. Like you get to put your energy and your focus in what you want to happen.
Right.
And that's what happens.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's so beautiful.
Yeah.
It's really enlightened me to have this conversation and just think about the energy of the universe, the energy of ourselves, the energy and the relationships we have. And I think one of my favorite takeaways is the external, right?
Yep.
And that need, because the moment that we're born, I think we start interpreting that external world, and we start to get the feedback of whether we are valuable or we are loved from the external.
That's right. And that literally dictates our life.
Yeah.
Until we start to heal.
Right.
Yeah.
And if our mother is breastfeeding us or not, does she look at us? Does she make eye contact, or is she on her phone?
Is she stressed out?
Is she stressed?
Because there's no money,
Right.
or because your dad left her, or because of
so many things that
all
go into
that
this.
energy passes through.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, tell us a little bit more about where people can find you. Tell us a little bit about, you mentioned awakening a few times, but can you kind of go into a little bit of like what somebody experiences if they come and attend an awakening seminar and what kind of a commitment that is? And
Yeah. So I would say the best place to start, I have a 1-day event. It's online. It's myself and my wife. And it's called Heal Your Hidden Wounds. Because what we don't realize is that we all have hidden wounds. I think definitely after this podcast, people are like, oh my God, like that's me, right? And so what happens is that we spend the day going into our deepest wounds, which are our mother and father wounds, and how they impact our relationships, our money, and our health. And then we lead everyone at the end of the day through a powerful breath work, which will give you an ayahuasca-like experience. So for that, you just go to dannymorel.com/heal. Awaken is a 3-day event. It's much deeper. It's much more profound. And I actually have the last 3 that I'm doing live before we go virtual are coming up here. We've got one coming up in London at the end of May. We've got one coming up in Austin, which I want to invite you to. You should come.
When is that one?
July 11th, 12th, and 13th.
Okay.
Yeah. And I know it might be tough with the kids, but bring your husband.
Okay.
Because it'll change your guys' life.
I wanted to ask you, it's a good,
Sure.
Sorry to interrupt on that, but have you experienced a couple going with imbalances in energy and finding themselves and then, balancing their relationship with each other?
I've experienced angels coming into a woman's vagina and providing surgery to heal her body. And I've seen women who can't have orgasms now have orgasms. The shit we've seen will blow your mind.
It seems like it's just going to be.
I'm just telling you.
I'm mind blown, to be honest.
It is beyond. It's the supernatural. It's beyond what you can
comprehend.
Yeah, and to be fair, I've experienced couples that show up like this and that are like this now, and I've experienced couples that are like this that go, you know what? It's everything.
Yeah,
it's just about returning here, and from here, everything will become
perfect,
available and perfect. Yeah. So that is dannymorel.com/awaken.
Okay.
Awaken. Yeah.
All right. And anything else? Social media? How do people follow you?
Instagram. I think. Danny Morel.
Okay.
Yeah.
Easy.
Yeah.
You're incredible. What a
Thank
great
you.
conversation.
Thank
great
you.
energy that you bring here.
Yeah.
And I have no doubt people are going to love this.
Yeah. I think they will.
Yeah,
Thanks for
thank
having
you.
me.
Thank you.
Yeah.